South Carolina already losing one of their monster offseason portal additions, a huge blow for the Gamecocks in 2026.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. And today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, not the kind of news you want to hear in mid to late February when it comes to football and injury news. But South Carolina, their offensive lineman, Jacarrius Peak, suffering a serious knee injury, according to multiple reports. The injury happened this week, according to multiple reports. The exact injury and how it happened were not immediately known. And while the severity of the injury and timetable for a possible return are unknown, CBS Sports' Matt Zenitz reporting, quote, "It's currently feared he's going to miss at least part of the 2026 season." Of course, if he misses significant time, man, that would just have a significant impact on South Carolina. Peak was the crown jewel addition of their transfer portal class, was expected to protect the blind side of LaNorris Sellers. According to 24/7 Sports, Peak was tabbed as the number 42 overall prospect in the transfer portal and the number 5 offensive tackle. He was one of 8 offensive linemen the Gamecocks signed from the portal. According to On3's Chris Lowe, Peak suffered the injury while playing basketball. South Carolina had their team 3-on-3 basketball tournament this week. And so if the NC State transfer misses any amount of time, like we said, going to be a major blow. He started all 13 games at left tackle at NC State last year, was named an all-ACC honorable mention. According to Pro Football Focus, he was in pass protection on over 400 snaps, allowed just 3 sacks and 10 hurries. And look, this is a South Carolina offensive line. They gave up 40 sacks in each of the previous 3 seasons. South Carolina needs to improve this unit. They brought in O-line coach Randy Clements, who followed Kendal Briles over from TCU. And early February, just weeks after getting on campus, South Carolina Director of Player Personnel Darren Usher said Peak would be the foundational piece of the program, an easy plug and play for us at whatever spot he ends up. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the top portal ads for every school, where they were ranked, South Carolina's, it was Peak. So, I mean, hands down, the best portal addition that South Carolina could get. And now, again, he is injured, and when and if he will return is still very much up in the air. Last year's starting left tackle Josiah Thompson is returning. He could stay in that spot. Of course, he added some other big line additions like Emmanuel Poku from ECU, Carter Miller from UCF, Hank Purvis from Purdue. It's also unknown how much NIL money that South Carolina spent on Peak. The on-3 NIL valuation puts him somewhere around $1.2 million. And again, maybe we look at that note on Matt Zenitz saying he will miss at least part of the 2026 season. South Carolina putting out a statement saying Jacarrius Peak suffered a lower body injury earlier this week and will miss spring practice. We expect that he will be available this season. But notice it doesn't say start of the season. It just says available this season. Joining us now to talk all about the unfortunate news for the South Carolina Gamecocks is a guy who covers them, Jordan Kaye of the state newspaper there in Columbia, South Carolina. Jordan, welcome in, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Let's dive into it. The news started circulating over the weekend that the prized offseason acquisition, the big transfer portal addition of Jacarrius Peak coming over from NC State, big old lineman. Most people kind of projected was going to be the starting left tackle if Josiah Thompson kind of slid over, whatever. But give us the latest on what you heard kind of transpired here.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of reported that it was in while they were playing basketball and South Carolina had their like 3-on-3 basketball tournament thing go on last week. And then, yesterday kind of the news started to break of like, hey, Jacarrius Peak like had a knee injury. And so that's never good. Right now, we don't know like what exactly the knee injury is. We don't know the severity or how long the timetable is for return, but knee injuries aren't great. So that's not what you want to hear. I think the one caveat would be it's February. So as long as it's not the major knee injuries, I mean, maybe there's enough time for a return.
Yeah, and to kind of, I mean, look, I'm just stepping out and kind of guessing here. A torn ACL or MCL is catastrophic. I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably a full year and out for the year. I was encouraged, and again, we don't really have a full report, but
Yeah.
Matt Zenitz of CBS, he said he's expected to miss some of the regular season, I think is how he said it. So it's like, okay, well, he didn't say the full season, so at least maybe a little optimistic here.
Yeah, I saw that wording too, and I was trying to do like in my head of like, okay, what does that mean? And I was like, okay, I guess if you're like 8 months, that's I guess some of the season.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly know what that looks like. The good news is Shane Beamer's they're introducing a new special teams coordinator on Tuesday, so he's going to get asked about it then, and you would think by that time all the tests will have been done and been back. And if there needs to be a second opinion, probably would have happened. So the hope is that we have a much fuller picture on Tuesday.
And I guess, if something like this is going to happen, I guess maybe good to get the news in February as opposed to like the week before the season starts.
Yeah.
So you got plenty of time to kind of adjust for this. But what did you hear around how much money he kind of got? Because I was looking at like the NIL evaluations from On3. I mean,
Yeah.
Jordan Seaton at LSU, I think, was the highest offensive tackle. But On3 kind of puts him anywhere in the 1 million to 1.2 million. Is that maybe a fair guesstimate?
Yeah, I have no like info on how much he got, but I think it would probably be fair when you start looking at some of the On3 and 247 projections of what a top tier left tackle costs. Like I think there were a lot of those reports and a lot of people did good work of kind of nailing down a range. And it seemed like for the top end of those tackles is you're paying 7 figures. And so that's in my head, I kind of anticipated, hey, if South Carolina is going to go get a great left tackle, like maybe that's going to cost $1 million. And so to me, that's kind of what it is. But man, I would like to see the contract to say what language is in that contract and what are they going to have to pay? Is there an injury clause? If the injury occurred during a team sanctioned thing, how does that work? What sort of contract insurance does South Carolina have? I have no idea how that works. I think these are the moments where, hey, if you were in the pros, like the guy just gets paid. I think that's usually how it works. So is that just how it happens? Does South Carolina get any of that money back? Is it an insurance company? I don't know. I mean, these are all the questions where, man, I want to see a contract and know a little bit more.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who deals with NIL, and he said a lot of these deals, there's no injury clause. It's just that guy gets that money whether he plays or not. So I don't know. That'll be fascinating to see. But it will also, I think, if they're not doing it, maybe cause some teams to start putting in clauses like that moving forward.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I don't know the legality of that. I think that's maybe where teams could get away with that since it's technically not a pay for play contract, or maybe because it's not a pay for play contract that putting that injury clause in there isn't feasible.
As we kind of look at it again, I mean, spring ball is not even getting underway just yet, but I mean, I guess easy to assume Josiah Thompson, who's been the starter there left tackle the last 2 years, maybe just stays at that spot for now.
Maybe. But I really think it's kind of hard to project right now because there is a new offensive line coach. And I think that Randy Clements, who came over with Kendal Briles from TCU, they have their idea of what they need to see from their offensive linemen. And man, they went and got 8 guys out of the portal. Obviously, even if you don't include Peak, there's still 7 guys. And you're bringing back a true freshman in Shed Surratt, who I think has a lot of position versatility. So I'm not ready to say that anyone from last year who gave up, 40 whatever sacks should just be slide and play guy. I think it's, hey, you got to go through spring ball, and we are going to try and put everyone at left tackle and see who's the best and come out from there.
Yeah, I think your piece cited, how many offensive linemen they've lost from last year. And sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes that's a good thing. When the O-line was so bad, it's okay to lose a bunch of pieces from the previous year. Real quick, a thought. I mean, everything I've heard about Kendal Briles this offseason from the South Carolina's perspective has been super positive. And obviously, you look at his track record. I mean, last time he was in the SEC at Arkansas, they had one of the best offenses. KJ Jefferson was outstanding. So, real easy to connect the dots here and say maybe this is exactly what a guy like LaNorris Sellers needs at this point in his career.
There is a lot of optimism right now. I think the KJ Jefferson piece is a nice precedent of saying, hey, Kendal Briles has done this with a big quarterback in the SEC. LaNorris Sellers, you're next. The other big point of optimism is when LaNorris Sellers was at his best was 2 years ago. That offensive coordinator was Dowell Loggins. It's a very, very similar system to what Kendal Briles is trying to run. Those two work together. Loggins and Briles work together at Arkansas. So LaNorris Sellers has already kind of worked with Kendal Briles a little bit, seen the playbook, and kind of feels very comfortable so far from what I've talked to him, just about how similar it is to the things he did in 2024. So, the early returns are very positive, but like you said, we're still a couple weeks away from spring ball. So we'll see how it goes.
It's very early, so just want to keep stating that. Of course, you can read Jordan's stuff at thestate.com. Give us a quick thought. I saw the Carolina made it official over the weekend that Coach Matt Smiley is going to be their special teams coordinator. How did this come about?
I don't know. This was not a name I knew at all. I had not heard Matt Smiley's name, and then you obviously go look up. He was the Buffalo Bills special teams coordinator for 3 seasons. Last year, he was apparently a special teams assistant or something at Penn State, but that role wasn't even online. It wasn't on their media guide. It wasn't anywhere. So no one really knew that he was doing anything at Penn State until they put out a press release. So that was kind of odd. I think there's a lot we don't really know. Shane Beamer is very good friends with the Buffalo Bills GM, Brandon Beane. So there's that connection of someone who knows him. And then also South Carolina, Smiley was at Penn State. They have now gotten 3 assistant coaches off that Penn State staff from last year. Smiley, who is, an analyst type role, but running backs coach Stan Drayton, and then the edge coach Dion Barnes. So those 3 guys probably have some familiarity with each other. That could have been another kind of way that Shane Beamer heard his name.
One more thought for you, Jordan. With spring ball about to start up here real soon, is there a player? Outside of the old lineman, is there maybe a skill player that kind of excites you to see how they mix in? I'll just throw mine in. Christian Clark. When I hear Texas fans saying, "Oh, that's a good one that got away," I go, "Okay, my antennas go up at that."
Yeah, no, that's the exact guy I was going to say is Christian Clark, because first of all, just all his stuff out of high school, recruiting ranking and stuff, very impressive. And then you go look at that Michigan game that he had in the bowl game, and it is really hard to not be impressed. And that could be a guy of, hey, he just did not want to sit anymore. And especially with the running backs that Texas brought in, I think Hollywood Smothers and then the kid from Arizona State, that maybe South Carolina just got an absolute steal, because everything I see on film, I really, really like Christian Clark.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see it. Certainly they're, look, Rizul Faison didn't live up to, kind of what they were hoping for last year, but, they want to find that Rocket Sanders-esque back to get back to being that workhorse, and maybe Christian Clark will be that guy. Jordan, really appreciate the time, man. Of course, go to thestate.com to read all of Jordan Kaye's stuff covering South Carolina, and we'll talk again down the road, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Have a good one. Appreciate you having me on.
Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing in the one position you got to fill, still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you are looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute we've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Less stress, less time, more results when you need the right person to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Hey, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now you can take it up a level, go ad-free, join our Everydayer Club. Get Locked On SEC ad-free, no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonsec.supercast.com to learn more. We're going to get to some SEC hoops news in just a second, but first, did want to bring this to your attention. College Football Rules Committee is going to consider some changes to targeting punishments. According to the report, the question of what constitutes targeting has become an annual topic of discussion among college football fans. And while that debate probably won't be settled anytime soon, there could be some changes that will affect how the punishment of an upheld call is handled. According to The Athletic's Chris Vanini, the NCAA Football Playing Rules Committee is considering a proposal that will end the current rule where a player who is whistled for targeting in the second half misses the first half of the next game. Rather, the player would just still be ejected but remain eligible for the next game, with the 15-yard penalty continuing to be enforced. As for removing targeting altogether, that's off the table, Vanini says, as well as a two-tiered penalty system, similar how flagrant fouls are assessed in college basketball and the NBA. There means little to no support for backing off of the targeting call itself or creating that two-tiered penalty system. But again, I think this is common sense. I think this has long been a stupid rule, especially when we talk about in the playoffs, right? Like second half of a playoff game, a guy gets ejected for targeting and then misses the first half of the national championship game. It's so stupid for that to carry over to the next game. You get ejected from a game, you get ejected from a game. I don't care if it's the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. That's it. Like, got ejected. That shouldn't be, if it was in the third quarter, you got to miss the first half of the next game. No, it's always been stupid. I've always hated that rule. I'm glad that they're finally looking at some common sense when it comes to this rule, and they will hopefully move off of it. One other note here, again, the Rules Committee set to meet Tuesday and Wednesday this week during the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. They also want to start penalizing the short shorts rule, which apparently he says is against the rules. Tate Sandell from Oklahoma, their kicker, most notably making social media rounds last year. Kirk Herbstreit even pointing it out that his shorts were a little short. Look, helped his mobility, helped to be one of the best kickers in college football. But the NCAA says, I got a rule. It's supposed to be technically pants you're wearing, not like super short shorts. So anyway, any proposals that come out of the Rules Committee meeting will go to the Division I Football Oversight Committee for ratification in mid-March. All right, before we get to the men's side of college basketball, in just a second, first, a shout out to Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina women's basketball has won the SEC regular season championship. Once again, their fifth straight SEC regular season title. The third-ranked Gamecocks breezed past number 17 Ole Miss on Sunday, 85-48, improving to 26-2 overall, 13-1 in SEC play, and clinching the program's fifth straight regular season league crown. It's also their 10th since Dawn Staley took the reins over back in 2008. And, man, Gamecocks, they outscored Ole Miss in this one, taking a 66-34 lead into the fourth. Joyce Edwards, who's the SEC's fourth leading scorer, finished with a game-high 21 points. She was 7-15 from the floor. Meanwhile, a day to forget for Ole Miss star Cody McMahon. She is the third leading scorer in the SEC. She went 0 for 9 from the field, had just 2 points. But South Carolina, 15-0 at home this season, home court advantage at Colonial Life Arena like no other. And they are an eye-popping 108-2 at home since the 2019-2020 season. Unbelievable. The SEC women's teams, they have just 2 regular season games left before they head to the SEC tournament. But the Gamecocks, they sit atop the standings at 13-1, but plenty of other SEC teams ranked. You got Texas, Vanderbilt, LSU all in the top 10, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama all in the top 25. So going to be plenty of SEC women's basketball teams represented in the NCAA tournament, to say the least. All right, let's get to your men's weekend basketball recap. SEC leading Florida. They disposed of the Ole Miss Rebels in Oxford 94-75. Alex Condon led the way with 24 points and 6 assists. Thomas Houck had 20 points, and the Gators shot 57% from the field, 50% from three. Florida, they've just been red hot this month. They've won 7 games in a row, have not lost a game in almost a month. You got to go back to January 24th. They're 12-2 in SEC play, 21-6 overall. Bracketology a few days ago had Florida as a 4 seed. I think they're going to move up as far as the seeding goes, especially if they keep playing like this. Ole Miss, their season all but done. They're 11-16 overall, 3-11 in SEC play. Chris Beard's squad just falling apart after that tournament run they had last season. They've lost 9 in a row. Tennessee, they got a huge road win at Vanderbilt, winning 69-65. Jacoby Gillespie with 17 points, while Nate Ament had 13 points with 9 boards. And the Vols picked up their 4th win in a row. They've won 8 of their last 9, 20-7 overall, 10-4 in SEC play. Winnable games left at Mizzou and South Carolina coming up, as well as home games against Vandy and Bama. Those will be tough, but Tennessee in a great spot. Vandy, they've lost 2 in a row now. They're 8-6 in SEC play, so they really need to bounce back and get a win. They'll host Georgia on Wednesday night. Alabama won their 6th in a row, beating LSU on the road 90-83 on Saturday. 4 of Bama's starters scored in double digits. Aiden Holloway led the way with 17 points. Aiden Sherrill had 12 points and 10 boards. Bama will get Mississippi State on Wednesday, and then their last 3 games at Tennessee, at Georgia, and home for Auburn. Those are some tough games, but Bama's in a great spot. 10-4 in SEC play, 20-7 overall. They can improve their seeding if they keep red hot like this. LSU, on the other hand, they're just trying to end the season, where it seems like Matt McMahon's days may be numbered. Huge win for Auburn at home on Saturday, coming back to beat Kentucky 75-74. Some controversial calls late that led to Mark Pope taking some not-so-subtle shots at the SEC refs in his post-game comments. Keyshawn Murphy had 25 points with 10 boards, while Elijah Freeman tipped in a miss with 1.4 seconds left as Auburn snapped their 5-game losing streak, handing Kentucky their 3rd straight loss. Otega Owe led Kentucky with a career-high 29 points, but the Wildcats blew a 74-71 lead that they had with 18 seconds to go. Both teams with some winnable games coming up next. Kentucky will be at South Carolina. Auburn will be at Oklahoma. But the Cats, they sit at 8-6 in SEC play. Auburn, still plenty of work to do at 6-8. They have to claw their way back. Arkansas, they beat Mizzou 94-86 on Saturday. The Razorbacks, they have won 4 of their last 5. One loss was that double overtime thriller at Bama last week. But Billy Richmond led the way with 21 points, while Darius Acuff had 20 points, 4 boards, and 5 assists. Mark Mitchell scored 26 for Mizzou in the losing effort. The Hogs, 20-7 overall, 10-4 in SEC play, still in a great spot. Mizzou, they're 8-6 in SEC play. They've lost 2 of 3, so they got work to do. Arkansas, they improved to 7-0 in games following a loss this season, while also still in contention for the SEC regular season title. They were in 2nd place, 2 games behind Florida with 4 to be played. Texas, they snapped their 5-game win streak, falling to Georgia 91-80. Jeremiah Wilkinson had 19 points off the bench. Georgia used a late run to beat the Longhorns, and the Bulldogs ended a 3-game home losing streak. Georgia 19-8 overall, 7-7 in SEC play, still very alive in the postseason hunt. Texas, they fell to 17-10 overall, 8-6 in SEC play. Next up, Texas hosts Florida on Wednesday. That's going to be tough. Georgia will travel to Vandy, also a tough one. Texas A&M, they won their 2nd in a row. They beat Oklahoma on the road 75-71. Rashawn Agee led the way with 18 points and 7 boards. Aggies needed to pick up these 2 wins after they had fallen to what they had lost 4 in a row. But now they sit 9-5 in SEC play. Still, this next 3-game stretch is rough. They're at Arkansas, home versus Texas and Kentucky. But Buckyball can still have a say in finishing near the top of the SEC if they play like they did this past week. Oklahoma, they dropped to 3-11 in SEC play. Some rumblings, Porter Moser may be done at the end of this season. And then South Carolina beat Mississippi State 97-89. Just a disappointing season for both teams. Carolina at 3-11. Mississippi State at 5-9. But let's take a look at the latest SEC standings. As we talked about, Florida now with a 2-game separation at 12-2. Then you got the logjam of Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee all at 10-4. A&M behind them at 9-5. And then you got Texas, Mizzou, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky all at 8-6. Georgia at 7-7. And then Auburn still in the hunt at 6-8. But everybody else behind them, I would say, are kind of out. But that is the latest on SEC basketball. Winding this thing down, man. March is almost here already. Still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Coming up next, we will get to some SEC baseball action from over the weekend. That's coming your way next. Hey, this is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen today, we're highlighting Arkansas guard Billy Richmond, who led the Hogs with 21 points of 9 of 14 shooting, had 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and a rebound as Arkansas defeated Mizzou 94-86. Richmond was outstanding for John Calipari's crew that has now won 4 of their last 5, 7 of their last 9. It's moments like these that remind us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit. We put that same passion into every model with Mazda. Highlights make the real. What it takes to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there is more to you. Hey, if you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. And here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future bet, and you will automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which NBA team can make a deep run, perfect time to lock it in. You're going to love future bets this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship, grab a conference title, adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. Right now, not only can you pick your team to win some cash, but also can send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, guys, jumping back into it. It was a busy weekend of SEC baseball. Thought we'd run through just some overall takeaways from the weekend. And we start with LSU. They swept their series out in Jacksonville at the Live Like Lou Jacks College Baseball Classic. LSU beat Indiana, Notre Dame, and UCF while improving to 8-0. They got homers from Zach York and 2 from Cade Arambidi. LSU some strong pitching from Kason Evans, Cooper Moore, and William Schmidt. The reigning national champs look to be pretty darn strong this year as well. Texas Longhorns, they improved to a perfect 7-0 on the season. They swept Michigan State, held them to just 2 runs on the weekend. Dylan Volantis improved to 2-0 with a 0 ERA through 14 innings pitched so far. Ethan Mendoza leads the Horns on the season, batting .462, 12 hits, 3 homers, 9 runs batted in. How about Arkansas? They swept Xavier to improve to 6-1. Colin Fisher threw a 1-hitter in their 11-0 win on Sunday. Only needed 86 pitches to throw an 8-inning complete game. He set a career high with 11 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter, and his 13 career starts prior to Sunday, Colin Fisher had never pitched past the 5th inning. So he looked pretty darn good. Also offensively Saturday, Aloy hit a walk-off single to win that one 7-6. So Arkansas looking pretty strong so far out of the gates. How about Mississippi State? They swept Delaware to improve to 8-0 on the season, used some timely hitting, relentless pressure on the base paths, and a dominant bullpen to secure their 3-game sweep in front of 9,400 fans. A little cold there in Starkville on Sunday, but the Bulldogs have had strong starting pitching so far. Tomas Valencias, Ryan McPherson, and Duke Stone have all been strong. Ole Miss, they swept Missouri State. They improved to 8-0 on the season as well. Hunter Elliott, not as sharp on Friday. Gave up 5 runs with 6 walks on Friday night, left in the 5th inning. But the Rebels got good pitching from Cade Townsend and Will Libert the rest of the weekend. Slugger Judd Utermark had a couple of homers. He's got 6 on the season with 13 runs batted in. Texas A&M, they swept Penn. They improved to 7-0. Shane Sadeo threw 7 shutout innings on Friday with 7 strikeouts. Weston Moss gave them 6 innings of 1-run ball on Saturday. And Aiden Sims, 7 innings of 1-run ball on Sunday. The Aggies scored just 10 runs on the weekend, but it was fine given their dominant pitching throughout the weekend. Shout out to the Auburn Tigers. They went 3-0 in their tournament over in Arlington, Texas over the weekend. They beat Kansas State, Florida State, and Louisville, all strong wins. They got some good pitching from Jake Marciano, Alex Petrovic, and Jackson Sanders. He gave up 4 earned, but had 9 strikeouts. Auburn took home the Amagi Bank College Baseball Series title. They recorded double-digit hits in all 3 games, 35 hits on the weekend for Auburn. So shout out to them. About Oklahoma, team maybe not many people had highest of hopes for this year. They improved to 7-0 on the season. They swept Coppin State. They had 57 runs scored on the weekend. Starting pitching has been outstanding so far this year, led by Cord Rager, Cameron Johnson, and LJ Mercurius. They combined to give up just 4 total runs over 31 in the 3rd innings. Pitched so far with 52 combined strikeouts. So good starting pitching. OU will get a midweek 2-gamer with Arizona State this week. That'll be fun. Georgia, they improved to 6-1 overall, sweeping Samford, much like a theme this weekend. They scored double-digit runs in every game, scored 45 total runs on the weekend, and Georgia already with 24 homers on the season. Daniel Jackson leads the way with 4 homers and 11 runs batted in. Tennessee, they had a rough weekend, man. They dropped 2 out of 3 against Kent State. They eked out Friday night's game 4-3, but the next 2 days they lost 2-1 and then 9-5 on Sunday. Some good starts on the mound from Coons and Mack, but not the best showing from the Vols pitching staff on Sunday. Josh Elander said they got to stress the fundamentals and do the little things right. So, yeah, maybe not time to hit the panic button in Knoxville, but wake up. Vanderbilt, they got right this weekend. They swept Marist, improving to 6-2 on the season. Strong pitching from Connor Fennell, Nate Taylor, and Austin Nye. Offensively, Braden Holcomb leads the doors with 15 runs batted in. Brody Johnson with 5 homers. See if Vandy can keep this going. They didn't look great the first weekend of the season. Mizzou, they swept New Haven, scoring 45 runs on the weekend. Mizzou's not supposed to be very good this year, but they're 5-2. They've shown some offensive firepower at times. Starting pitchers Josh McDevitt and Javen Pimentel had 2 good outings so far for the Tigers. So we'll see on Mizzou. And then South Carolina, they took 2 out of 3 on the weekend, beat Navy and Air Force, lost to Army. They're 6-2 on the season. Amp Phillips went 6 shutout innings on Saturday on the mound. Offensively, Gamecocks not doing much. They have just 10 homers on the season. Only 4 of their regular starters are batting above 300. So they've got to get the bats going there. All right. Thank you guys for tuning into today's Locked On SEC. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, hey, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Perfect opportunity to get Locked On SEC ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Just head to lockedonsec.supercast.com. For those of you on video, sending you the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel and audio. Make sure you make your second listen to Locked On College Football. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.